Good afternoon, everyone. It's really great to see that you're here and we have the opportunity to enjoy your company. I have to confess that I sort of look forward to funerals because I get to see a lot of people I otherwise wouldn't get to see. But anyhow, you're all welcome here and thank you for coming. As you probably know by now, my mom had 8 children, 5 boys and 3 girls. What you may not know is, at one point she had 4 little boys under the age of 3. And that was before God created disposable diapers. Those of you who had babies in the 40s and 50s can certainly relate to the carnage that created. But my mom never complained or expressed regret at having so many kids and the tremendous workload that created. My mom considered being a mother to be God's greatest gift. She relished it, and more importantly, made sure that we knew we were a blessing, not a burden, and that each of us was special. Thanks, Mom, for that. You probably have heard people say, "I'm sure glad my kids are grown and gone." Well, no one ever heard my mom express those thoughts about us, with the possible exception of me. When we were little, she would sometimes say, "Now, if you boys pray real hard, you might get a little brother or a little sister." And sure enough, like clockwork, 7 months later, one would show up. As teenagers, one of our fun pastimes was wrestling with each other, sometimes to her chagrin inside, other times out on the lawn. I've often wondered if, when she heard the noise of crashing furniture, if she temporarily wished for all girls and no boys. If she did, she never told us. Even though our houses tended to be a bit more ramshackle than most people's, and certainly more crowded with more crowded than most, Mom always welcomed our friends and assorted visitors to stay for dinner and stay for the night if they wished. Sometimes people stayed for days, and sometimes even weeks. But all were welcome, and she was glad to have them come. She delighted in and never complained about the extra work and the chaos that created for her. My mom and dad were Depression era young adults, so they knew how to make do with little. We lived in houses too small for 10 people and guests. Money was always tight, but Mom always put food on our plates, and it was very creative in making something delicious and plentiful. And she could do that, make that stuff out of nothing. She could make so many things from potatoes that even Rachel Ray would have been astonished. One of my high school friends, he still rhapsodizes about the homemade pizzas that she made from ingredients that you would never expect. And they were good. When my twin brother Jonathan, and I were about to be born, my dad's old car would not start in the cold winter of December 1940. A bachelor neighbor who had just bought a brand new Buick came to the rescue. And my very pregnant mom and dad crawled in the back seat of that brand new car. The distance from Buda to the hospital in Princeton, Illinois is about 13 miles. But being an impatient one, I couldn't wait. So about halfway there, I was born in the back seat. 10 minutes later, John was born in downtown Princeton. In a letter my father wrote his mother with the news the day after, he described how humiliated my mom felt when the staff rushed out to the car and all the hospital windows filled with onlookers. Believe it or not, we even made the national news. Must have been slow news day. Speaking of cars, if you had 2 cars, you were considered to be rich. Can you imagine the sight at church or downtown when 10 people piled out of our one and only car? We probably should have charged people to watch that circus. I guess at this time I should be telling you that I had the greatest mom ever. But you who were lucky to share time with her already know that by how she lived her life. I found this in an old autograph book from grade school from March 10th, 1932, when she was 13. One of her schoolmates wrote, "Dear Catherine, I love you a little, I love you big, I love you like a little pig." Your schoolmate, Opal. Now, why Opal made that analogy, I have no idea, but she was loved by all, even then. And I might mention that Uncle Vic, for first grade, attended Deed School in Pleasant Valley, which was the same school my mom attended, my grandparents attended, and my great-grandparents attended. And then later, my dad brought the electricity to it for the first time, and it's still there, amazingly. Not only was she beautiful on the inside, but as you can see from this picture of her at the age of 17, that she was beautiful on the outside too. My dad was a very lucky guy. Let me close with this short vignette. I always assumed that everybody thought that a new baby was a cause for great joy. When I was in grade school, I had a paper route delivering the Freeport Journal-Standard. And on Friday was collection day, and when people paid for their weekly delivery. My youngest brother Tim had just been born, so I wanted to tell all my customers the good news. The last house on my route was a classmate named Norman Teeter. I knocked on the door and he opened it, and I excitedly told him the great news. With a disgusted look on his face, he yelled over his shoulder to his mom in the kitchen, "Oh no, they had another one." I guess that not everybody thought having a bunch of kids was a blessing. But we did, thanks to our mother and her desire to help us know we were not a burden, but her greatest joy. Mom had the unique ability, and you could particularly see it in their later years, to find contentment in whatever circumstances that she found herself. Today she has contentment that even exceeds that which she displayed while here on earth. Thank you for being my mom, and keep a light on for us.